Good evening and welcome to the January 13th, 2026 meeting of the Milton Select Board, which I will call to order. Please stand if you are able and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're going to go to public comment here. Our standard rules for public comment are that we allow each speaker 3 minutes, and there's a total of 21 minutes available. And I will keep track of the 3 minutes and give folks ample warning as the time is set to expire, and Mr. Milan will keep track of the 21 minutes. I think for our first public comment, I'd like to call on Katie Conlon, who is joining us remotely. Katie, are you there?
I am, yes. Thank you very much. And good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm here in my role as chair of your Airplane Noise Advisory Committee to ask the board to observe a moment of silence in memory of the late Harold E. Brown, better known as Gene Brown. Gene passed away in December at the age of 95. He was one of the unsung heroes of town government. Gene moved to Milton with his family after a career with the U.S. Navy, including serving in the Korean War. In 1978, when operational changes were made at Logan Airport and overburdened the town with airplane noise, Gene began to track daily runway use, something that he would continue to do for the next 45 years. In 1980, the Select Board appointed Gene to represent Milton on the Logan Community Advisory Committee, the organization that advocated for communities affected by flights in and out of Logan Airport. It was the predecessor to today's Massport CAC. As you all know, the town's battle to reduce excessive air traffic has been lengthy and challenging. But Gene Brown persevered, serving as Milton's representative, or its alternate representative, to the CAC for 25 years. He delved into highly technical issues and brought a well-respected voice to both the CAC and other ad hoc committees that addressed evolving impacts of air traffic throughout the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. In recent years, Gene's contributions to Milton's efforts were less visible, but no less important. He provided the board and the Airplane Committee with monthly reports of the FAA's use of runways 4 right and 4 left. His data was important, and it helped the town's efforts. Gene was always willing to take the time to draw upon his considerable expertise and advise town officials. In April of 2023, Gene submitted his final report and told us that at age 93, it was finally time for him to step back. He expressed, and I quote, "the hope that others will now continue the fight for justice and fairness regarding aircraft activity over Milton." We need more people like Gene to step forward to serve, but that's an issue for another day. Tonight is a time to remember Gene Brown and his decades of valuable service to the town of Milton, and to extend our condolences to his children and grandchildren. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Conlon. And I'd like to, before we proceed, and I don't know that we have any more speakers, but I'd like to invite us all to have a moment's silence for Gene and in commemoration of all of his work for the town. Thank you. Seeing no more hands online or here in person, I believe we're going to move on to item number 4, discussion approval, enrollment certification for the school project with the MSBA. And I see that we have Mr. O'Rourke here from the school building committee. Would you like to join us up here, Sean? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sean O'Rourke, town meeting member, Precinct 8, chair of the school building committee. For the topic that we're talking about tonight, I prepared a few slides, if it's okay to share.
Please.
Good. I missed the invite. Now, can you do it again?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. It expired while I was trying to get on it. There we go.
Okay, we have it right here too, so we can.
Okay, perfect. So the MSBA, as you're aware, we got invited to MSBA's program based on our statement of interest, and we started last May with MSBA. The MSBA has broken their procedure to complete a project down to these 9 modules. Since May, we've been working on Module 1, which is eligibility. Essentially with that, the Module 1 is broken into subcomponents that are there. I can walk you through them really quick. The ICC is the initial compliance certification that you guys signed immediately after we started. The school building committee, we were already formed, but we had to augment that with additional members to comply with MSBA's standards. And then we had an educational profile, which was a number of documentations the school district put together and submitted. After that, Tom McCarthy and Consolidated Facilities Department did a great job of putting maintenance documentation together. And then the funding, we actually funded the project February's town meeting last year. So we basically checked all those boxes. For us, we completed all the work the town was owed in the first 90 days. We then waited, for MSBA to schedule us for this enrollment meeting. So the initial enrollment meeting happened on October 20th. The MSBA provided some documentation to us that detailed enrollment for the options that we're looking at. School building committee met shortly thereafter, and then we had a follow-up meeting with MSBA to kind of present the questions that we had, get the responses, and then basically, close it out. So what you're going to see before you tonight are those numbers that we've been working on with MSBA. We'll be on the board meeting in February to transition from Module 1 to Module 2. So here are the numbers and the options. So with MSBA, they're requiring us to look at 3 different options. The first option, as it is for all their projects, is an add renovation to what the building we submitted on, which was Cunningham, even though the statement of interest applies across the entire district. So we're going to have to look at an addition renovation to Cunningham, pre-K to 5th grade. Their base enrollment that they had for Collycott and Cunningham would be 1285. And then there are adjustment factors that they have in there that were detailed, I think, in the letter that you guys saw, that basically the anticipation of these adjustment factors are, some people go out of district because of the current, overcrowding that's in the schools. So as we address that, they're going to come back in. So those 3 adjustments you see there are the 2 upper adjustments are for that. The third one is for development. So we also submitted our housing plans and construction permits that have been issued recently, and in the future. So with those, that's what builds up the numbers. So the first option that we're looking at, as I mentioned, is an add renovation to Collycott Cunningham. The next one is the construction of a new elementary school that they want us to look at, which would be pre-K to 5th grade. Total enrollment for that would be 495 plus the pre-K. And then finally, the middle school option, which I think everyone's familiar with, that would house grades 7th and 8th plus pre-K. The total enrollment there is 660 plus the pre-K. Just as a measuring stick, when school building committee was working previously with Arrow Street for our design enrollment at that time for what the school building committee came up with was 670. So having the independent consultants at MSBA basically confirmed that, made the committee pretty happy. So After we get through this, I'm just anticipating questions. Our next step is going to be forming the project team. So after February's meeting with MSBA, we'll start forming a project team. The two components of that is an owner's project manager and an architect and engineering team. The owner's project manager, the town will issue an RFS, or request for services. MSBA has a few steps they want to look at or review it prior to that. And then the architect is basically decided by a designer selection committee by MSBA. There are 13 appointed members on there, and then 3 additional town members, or members of the town, that will be appointed to that. And with that, I'll open up to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Orrick.
No problem.
I will open it up to questions from the members.
I honestly don't have any.
I do have one.
Yeah.
I hate to be that guy.
Oh, yeah.
So in the slide for the additional students anticipated for changes, there was 75 for the K through 5 and 20 for the 7 to 8. Is that anticipated to be district wide, or is that just specific to Collicott-Cunningham?
It was district. Well, for the Collicott-Cunningham, it was for Collicott. Well, actually, those were district-wide, because what they were doing was they were taking the anticipation of that having to redistrict everything. So if we introduce a new elementary school, we would have to redistrict. So when they were accumulating all their numbers, it was district-wide.
Okay.
And the reason the numbers are different there is one of them we're having multiple more grade levels rather than
Right.
7th and 8th, and that's why that number is lower. That was actually a question the school building committee had for MSBA.
Okay. Wow. I would say great minds think alike, but that would be flattering myself, I think. Any other questions from folks? So at the moment, you don't need anything from us other than thank you for continuing to keep us posted. Oh, we do.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right.
No, this wasn't an
Okay.
update. So
Yeah,
there is
yeah.
action that's needed. So there's the enrollment certification letter that needs to be signed.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So in Milton, the chief executive officer is the select board, so the chair of the select board would sign on behalf of the board. So we would need a motion to approve the enrollment certification and authorize the chair to sign it if everybody's on board with doing so.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the enrollment certification and authorize Chairman Zoll to sign the document.
Second.
Mr. Wells, I saw you had your hand up.
I was going to make the same motion.
Okay.
All set. I'll vote yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Wells is a yes. This is roll call because we have Mr. Wells remote. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So I will sign this, and we will be then good to go for your February meeting.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Have
Thank
a
you for
great
your
night.
hard work on this one.
Right.
Moving along to item 5, annual town meeting warrant for Monday, May 4th, 2026. Was that me? Oh, okay. They figured it out. So, was that me?
Okay. Yep.
Oh, no worries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Mr. Milano, do you want to kick us off here?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the agenda, at the end of the agenda, is a list of warrant articles. The first, as they are numbered now, Articles 1 through 35 are recurring articles that appear each year at town meeting. They're articles related to the budget, to annual authorizations, and the various appropriations that the town meeting is asked to do. The last one is to authorize the select board to accept or abandon any easements. The new articles that have been submitted start at article number 36 and go down to 41. When I put this list together, we did so before the agenda was posted on Friday. I did, however, receive a request from the local historic district study committee for their article related to a local historic district in Milton Village to be included on the list. So while it's not on this list, they have submitted, they've done some work on that article and have been back in front of both, I believe, MPIC and the planning board, and have asked for it to be included at the annual town meeting. I'll quickly summarize the new articles and happy to take more specific questions. Article 36 is at the request of the treasurer collector, which would establish a new revolving fund whereby payments for various charges and costs that the collector's office has to do in order to move properties that have not paid their taxes into the tax title process and through the tax title process could then be collected and put into this fund to then pay future costs. So right now we pay directly out of the town's appropriation for mailing demands, sending out letters, et cetera. Under this, what this tax title revolving fund is going forward, as these tax title payments are made back to the town, we would hold on a portion of that revenue by which the collector can use to fund those costs moving forward. So it'd be a shift out of the recurring departmental budget and then be borne by this revolving fund moving forward. So that's that. It's an acceptance of a general law. The next one
Is that by percentage that we take from each?
Yeah, there
Would
are
it be
certain
personal
charges
costs?
that the department would incur that would then be able to go into the revolving fund. But the tax lien amount, the interest, the amount owed to the town, that all goes back to the general fund as it normally would. It's just there's some additional charges that the office incurs. Rather than that money flowing to the general fund, it'll stay with the revolving fund and then be a net out of her budget moving
From
forward.
each tax title collection collected,
Yeah.
we would just take back the fees that have been incurred by
Yeah,
the
a small
department.
portion of the
So not a
eligible
percentage, not
fees.
like 1% of each, just like whatever.
Yeah, just
costs
Just the
we
fixed
incurred.
fees.
Correct. Article 37, this is, Chapter 59 is the provision in Mass General Laws for tax exemptions. So clauses 22, so this is a little bit of typo, so I apologize for that. So it's Chapter 59, Section 5, clauses 22I and 22J. And then I have an and or General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5C and 1/2. These are, as we've discussed previously, more colloquially referred to as the HERO Act, property tax exemptions. Clause 22I would allow tax exemptions for veterans who qualify to increase at the rate of COLA on an annual basis. And the COLA amount is determined by the Department of Revenue and they post it out publicly. So in the June town meeting, we adopted a few additional tax exemptions that would allow other tax exemptions to have COLA adjusted on an annual basis. So that would, this provision 22I would expand that to the veterans tax exemptions. 22J would allow veterans tax exemptions to be increased by up to double. So right now, if you have a service desk connected disability of 10%, you're eligible for a tax exemption of $400. Adopting 22I would say that $400 is going to be $800 moving forward in the first fiscal year after which this is adopted. And then if we also have adopted 22, so 22J would double it, 22I would adjust it for COLA annually. So that number will start going up every year. An alternative for the board to consider, and I can come back with more concrete numbers if the board would like, would be to adopt, to recommend the town meeting accept General Laws Chapter 59, 5C and 1/2. That would take all the various exemptions for the elderly who qualify. There's an exemption for folks who are blind who qualify, folks who are surviving children of parents who have passed away who qualify. So there are a few other exemptions that we could say, just like the veterans one, we're going to double all of those. So on an annual basis, these exemptions cost the town somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000. So you'd be looking at doubling that moving forward with the adoption of Chapter 59, 5C and 1/2. So those are really the options in terms of how we want to develop the warrant article. The HERO Act portion of that would be 22I that allows veterans exemptions to go up by COLA, and 22J that allows us to double the tax exemptions for just the veterans exemptions. In lieu of adopting 22J, the town could adopt 59, 5C and 1/2 and double all of those exemptions. So there is obviously a cost here, but in the wake of the override and other options, as we talked about here at this board, and finding ways to help those who may need the assistance, this is an option for the town to increase those property tax exemptions across the board.
Questions from the members?
Nope.
Just a quick one from me, Mr. Milano. So the total cost for 5C, 1C and 1/2 would be 300 to 400K roughly.
Yeah, right now, we're in that ballpark of about $150,000 in exemptions. So we would be doubling that. So it'd go from $150,000 to about $300,000
What-
on an annual basis.
What would the price tag be for just the first two? Do you know? I'm assuming it would be a subset of that 300.
Yeah, and I don't have here. So the veterans exemptions last year were about $50,000. So that would double it to about $100,000
Okay,
on an annual basis.
thank you. That's helpful. I would, for one, would be interested in seeing more about the 5C.5 and what's included in there
Okay.
To make an informed judgment. I don't know if other folks feel that way. We don't have to make the call at tonight's
No,
meeting.
the article will go forward on the agenda. We had been moving forward with 22I and 22J, and then it was pointed out to me that an alternative to that, to 22J, is to consider 59 5C.5. So that is just kind of a something that was pointed out in the last couple of days as an alternative. So I haven't been able to fully flesh it out, but it would do that and more.
Okay, yeah. So let's revisit that again
Okay.
at our next meeting.
Right. And I'll come in with just a clear outline as what exemptions would be eligible and what we would expect to see that in terms of potential usage of it.
Thank you. 38 then is Atherton Street.
Yes, I don't have a fully fleshed out article here. The Fire Station Building Committee is continuing its work on a recommendation both to this board as well as to town meeting. Their next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 20th. I met with the representatives from the building committee last week to talk about where they're at and what their game plan is. So I expect potentially a more clear direction after their meeting on the 20th.
Are we anticipating that that would be a debt exclusion?
So right now, regardless of what their ultimate pathway is, the article that would go to the May town meeting would be just to complete design.
Okay,
So they have designed most of the way for a renovation in addition to the existing Atherton station. So they would need an appropriation to finish that and get it ready to go out to bid. The alternative path that they're thinking about is, rather than renovate the old station, is to build new. So if that is their recommendation to the town meeting, it would be in a larger appropriation for more design money to design a totally new building, but that would still be going to May. So regardless of what direction they go, it's going to be a borrowing authorization for completion of design. They would then come back to a future town meeting, potentially as soon as fall, for a project appropriation, which would also coincide with a ballot question vote for a debt exclusion for the town to approve, excluding the cost of this project from the tax levy. So that would be the fall has the state election, so it'd be a question on the state election ballot, or alternatively, they could come in next spring and have it on the annual town election. So that's the general timeline will be May for a design, back in the fall or in the spring for both a town meeting vote to appropriate the money for the project and a ballot question.
the fall November ballot or September ballot?
I would expect November.
Okay. Questions from members? Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a couple of things relative to Athens Street, I'm sorry. As you know, I think all the members know, MassDOT is proposing this roundabout that will go around whether it was the existing or new one. I think that one thing we want to keep in play here is that we watch this project closely so that I think it will behoove the town to make sure we get the money appropriated, and once it's appropriated, start construction, get that. That'll be a project similar to East Milton. It won't be a long, I think it'll be like a 9-10 month project. We get that completed before MassDOT moves forward with the improvements that they want to put at that location. I think we have to focus on the public safety protection on that side of town first, and then deal with the road enhancements secondary to that. I just don't want to, because they're very integral. It goes right around the property, so we need to, you need to stay aware of that, Mr. Milano, very, very keenly. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Agreed, and I'll note that the MassDOT project team made themselves available on how to design professional meeting where the architect and the owner's project manager of our project and their design team met, and they've more or less agreed that they'll let the fire station building committee's process play itself out and then come back. Then we'll regroup with them in terms of next steps on that whole area in terms of this roundabout project. So we're appreciative of MassDOT's understanding so far, but we'll need, I agree, in terms of keeping this moving so that MassDOT doesn't then themselves get antsy as well.
Any other thoughts from the members? Okay. Moving on to 39.
Article 39 and 40 are very similar. We talked briefly at the board level about a proposal to purchase energy credits from a company to offset costs on our electric bills. In working with town council on both this concept as well as trying to finalize a solar installation on the fire headquarters, it looks like both would require town meeting to authorize those actions. So they're not actions that the select board can do alone. So we'll work with town council to finalize a potential warrant article along these lines. It would really be requesting the town meeting's authorization to enter into an energy credit agreement for Article 39, Article 40 to enter into a long-term lease and to approve a long-term power purchase agreement. So that's just a procedural thing that town council flagged that we will prepare and are working with them on. We have draft language in place, but just need to finalize that with the council.
Great.
And Article 41 right now is the planning board is working on a zoning bylaw amendment. They have this on their agenda for further discussion and potential approval on Thursday evening. We have a draft that was circulated. That draft was reviewed and with changes recommended by town council. So that's in, it's moving along in the process. We have a draft and we'll substitute that for the final language once the planning board provides it. And this is addressing the sign bylaw, which they had been working on last year, didn't quite finish that work. And it's progressed to this point. And then the other article, as I mentioned, was the local historic district.
Okay. Well, we didn't really need to open the warrant because we didn't make any changes to it.
Correct.
So, any final thoughts about the warrant for the fall, or for the spring? Sorry. Hearing none, then let's move on to item 6, fiscal year 27 budget. And I know while I was overseas, there was a joint meeting that was held. I might turn to the chair of the Select Board Finance Committee to give us an update.
So on, was it the 8th? Tuesday the 8th? Like
Wednesday
the
the
days blurred
Yes,
together.
Wednesday
I
the
believe
7th.
it was, sorry.
On Wednesday morning
Was
last
it
week.
Wednesday? So last week we had a joint meeting of the Select Board Finance Committee and the School Committee Finance Committee. Town Administrator Milano and Superintendent Phelan were present as well. We discussed challenges with the upcoming budget, sort of the draft budget where we're at this time. I will let Mr. Milano get into the details of the budget in just a moment, but we do have to have some more conversations and, as I like to say, more pencil sharpening, because the rate of growth on the school end is at a greater pace than what we have going on for the town and what was established under the override. So we're collaborating with the school committee to understand how we can make sure we're in alignment on both the town end and the school end, so that we can make sure we can get the needs of the students met and also be able to have balanced budgets year over year until we have to go for another override, hopefully several years from now. So I would say, my impression is that this is just the opening of a conversation. This is normal. for any type of budget negotiation, and we're collaborating very closely and want to make sure that we're doing right by teachers, students, while also navigating the fact that we did have a level service override, and we have to stay within our means. I don't know if Member Daley wants to add anything. He was also present at the meeting.
Yeah, Nick, I don't know if you're going to go through the whole.
Yep.
Nick's going to go through the whole presentation, but in that meeting, and I know I will sort of address that an email was sent out after our meeting, I believe the next day, saying that due to the gap in our budget, what may be at stake is 26 positions in the schools. I've seen the messages, we've seen the emails, texts, phone calls, and I know that immediately rattles or makes nervous many of our parents in our school community, folks who are thinking that, well, we just had an override. How are we talking about putting more positions on the chopping block? And I will say, as to what Chair Hegarty has shared, that this is only the first conversation in the budget conversation. There are a lot more to be done, a lot more talks to be had. Town Administrator Milano will go through the budget. Initially, the schools came in at a little over 5% in their increase, and the town departments and the schools were asked to be at about 2.3%. So we do look at this, and the way I see it is that if you go through the history of this town, particularly in the last 10 years, I think the town, not just the select board and town administrator, but also the residents have always stepped up for the schools. We've always found a way to make this work. We are asking for this to be a long-term practice in the way that we balance our budgets. We're looking forward to working with Superintendent Phelan as well as the school committee into what our possibilities are in mitigation. We're also very, I would say right now, positive in that we're going to be able to come to consensus and reach a space where we can close the gap. So to our parents, the school community that may have seen that email and are worried that how can we be at risk? Are we going to be losing positions long term? I would like them to know that our hope, that our goal actually is to make sure that our schools are healthy. We know how important that is to the town, and that's what we will be working towards. And that was only one of what will be a series of meetings, and it is not at all the final word on where we will be with our school budget. But it is important, and I think this was a conversation we had in the last year. One, we convened the collective budget committee, which met as well this week, which is select board, school committee, superintendents, the warrant committee, and everyone in there talking about this very issue. Because the community did share that in the last few years, it felt that we had not all been discussing, we had not all come to the table to talk about and really understand where each department as well as the town is in terms of our revenue and our expenditures and what our expectations are. And I think you can see that even a bit in the communication that's been had in terms of expectations and ask. And that is the gap that we are right now attempting to fill. And I'm very hopeful that we will fill not only that gap, but also have some processes going forward and understanding as to where the town needs to be, as well as the schools need to be, keep our budgets healthy.
Thank you both. Mr. Milano, do you want to run us through the presentation, and we can have a broader conversation?
Sure.
Googling vacations.
Is that what it was?
Only in the middle of January.
Was it that cold today, Nick?
All right. Thank you for the introduction. So we'll dive directly into the revenue outlook for fiscal 27 and run through what our revenue forecast looks like. And I know we touched on this at a prior select board meeting, but for property taxes, we are assuming the max under Proposition 2.5, which is a 2.5% increase over the prior year levy. plus $1 million in new growth, which is new construction, additions, renovations that is happening currently. All the new growth that happens from July 1 of 25 to June 30 of 2026, aka going on as we speak, will inform the new growth number that's in the fiscal 27 budget. So $1 million in new growth, that gets us to about $3.8 million increase in property taxes, or a 3.3% increase over the prior year. The override is incorporated into the base levy since it was approved, so it is automatically included in the 27 base, and 2.5% is added to that override amount of $9.5 million from the prior year. Local receipts, and I have a sheet that just describes those in greater detail. We're at a 2% increase year over year on local receipt forecast right now. The next big check-in on that will be when we finalize our motor vehicle excise tax commitment later this month. We'll reevaluate that if we feel comfortable with any upward revision on local receipts. Indirect costs is a cost and a revenue source from our enterprise funds, water, sewer, and stormwater, where we're paying for health insurance and other costs centrally in the general fund budget. Those enterprise funds make a contribution to the general fund for their share of those expenses. State aid is it remains a preliminary estimate of about 1% increase over the prior year. We really put an estimate in early and just leave it alone until the governor's budget comes out in January. So we expect to make a revision to our forecast for state aid later this month when the governor's budget is released. That should happen the next week or two, I would expect. And again, with any of these revenue forecasts, any revisions, we would expect them to be upwards rather than we wouldn't expect any downward revisions, knock on wood, but we expect state aid to be at or above our forecast. The last revenue source I'm showing here is a contribution from the operating budget stabilization fund. Last year with the override, we included $700,000 appropriation, or in the $9.5 million override, $700,000 of it was dedicated to the operating budget stabilization fund. That contribution into the fund is a recurring contribution as long as this board votes to keep it each year. And I have included or recommended that we withdraw out of that fund $700,000. So the operating budget stabilization fund gets at least $700,000 a year. Last year, the town also appropriated $2 million of free cash into it, and I have a chart that'll show that just gives a sense of what that fund looks like and how it could be used going forward. That is the bottom line for the revenue forecast of $150.9 million in fiscal 27, $4.9 million of new money, almost $5 million, and a 3.4% increase. Below the line, I have showed that we have other revenue sources that we pull into the budget, but generally those are for one-time costs that right now we're not anticipating any free cash as of yet that would go to the operating budget. We would expect free cash appropriations for other things that wouldn't affect the operating budget in fiscal 27. As I noted, just kind of a greater detail on the property taxes. This gives you a breakout of where that revenue sources are. The override of $9.5 million is included in the new base. The $1 million of new growth. Last year, our new growth was $1.49 million, which was the highest it's ever been. And we would expect steady new growth for the next couple of years as the pipeline on projects with all the construction that's happening around town remains steady. Although as we head out further years, we wouldn't be as confident in that. And just showing a chart of that new growth to show kind of what the past few years has been compared to the prior 10, really. The growth has been much higher in the last few years due to renovations as well as the larger multifamily projects that have started to come online in the last few years. I mentioned local receipts. This category includes motor vehicle excise tax as the largest revenue source. Crash fees, building permit fees, penalties and interest income are the other large categories here. This is a place where our revenue forecast has been conservative and actual receipts have surpassed our projections significantly. So while we have revised that upwards to about $10.4 million, we've spent a lot of time discussing this both at the Budget Coordination Committee meeting and elsewhere, that while there have been outlier amounts in the past couple of years, when you start to peel back what the source of those revenue is, it's not guaranteed recurring revenue. Using interest income as an example, in fiscal 22, in the wake of COVID and declining interest rates, interest income was $67,000. In fiscal 24 is $1.6 million. So while we don't expect to dip that far low, as interest rates do start to come down, we don't necessarily expect to hit $1.6 million in interest income, and we can't estimate that because this would be a basis for a cost in the operating budget that if the money wasn't there, we would have to back out that money. Looking at building permits over the last 2 years and in this fiscal year as well, we've permitted a number of large projects, whether it's Walcott Woods, 131 Elliott, which is at Elliott and Central. The 40B projects that are all under construction have all paid their building permit fees, whether that was in 24, 25, or this year in 2026. Penalties and interest spiked in fiscal 25 as the tax collector was working through larger outstanding payments owed to the town. So we spent a lot of time going through the right way to forecast local receipts, and a lot of the income over the last couple of years is not a baseline for recurring amounts. It's more kind of outlier amounts. So happy to take further questions on that, but just wanted to spend a couple of minutes going deeper into the weeds on the local receipts. Transitioning now to the expense budget. What you see here is a summary of what requests were for fiscal 27. As was alluded, the school department came in at about a 5.2% increase year over year. The town departments are at about a 3.65. Blue Hills Regional is dependent on enrollment in that school. That's still an estimate, so that's an early estimate. We'll get a revised number hopefully on that in the next month or so. And we pulled out all of the shared expenses that are budgeted centrally in the general fund, but shared across town and schools. Health insurance is the big outlier here, where health insurance our premiums are expected to go up 10% year over year. In fiscal 26, we had a 14% premium increase. There has been significant news coverage in the Globe and elsewhere about the challenges that increasing medical costs is imposing on cities and towns. Milton is no outlier, positive or negative on that. We're just kind of in the middle of getting impacted like everybody else. There are some changes for certain pharmaceuticals that are going into place July 1 that has reduced our original forecast from about 14% to 10%. This is the one place I would say is it's still early. That is based on 5 months of claims data through November. We usually wouldn't set our final premium forecast until February or March. So we're hopeful that that's right, that's conservative, but this is a very expensive time in the medical world. Costs are escalating very quickly. And when utilization was lower several years ago, costs were lower. Now costs are higher and utilization of the medical is higher. So it's just a compounding effect on us. Otherwise, the shared costs are pretty straightforward. We have our pension payment that's due to the retirement system. OPEB is for future liabilities for other post-employment benefits, largely health insurance benefits for retirees. Debt service is jumping up in fiscal 27, primarily because of a number of larger capital projects that have been approved by town meeting over the last several years, just haven't been built or acquired for various reasons. We have a $1.6 million ladder truck that's expected to arrive in about 6 months. That was approved at the 2022 annual town meeting. We have a new engine that was approved at the 2023 town meeting that we expect in March or April. The Lower Guile Turf project, again, was approved, I believe, at the 2022 annual town meeting. We've been unable to start that project. So that debt service budget for fiscal 27 includes our regular debt, as well as these kind of projects, large projects that are impactful to debt service that haven't yet shown up in the budget. Included in that number is funding for the Cunningham project as well. So all that comes together to cause a jump in fiscal 27. I think that really covers the expense forecast. So as you can see, the bottom line is if you take our revenue forecast from the prior slide of 150,916,000 and put it up against our expense requests of $153 million, that gives us a deficit of about $2.5 million that we have to work through. And to go through this exercise, we did show what a balanced budget would look like is if we continue to split revenue between town and schools the same as it's been in the past couple of years. That would have town and schools going up by the same amount year over year at 2.38% over the prior year. That gets us to reductions required from the school budget of $2 million and reductions required from the town budget of $400,000. So that is kind of the lay of the land of where things stand for fiscal 27. As the two members who spoke alluded to, we're aware and understand that this is impactful. And we're here to work through it, try to find ways to mitigate these impacts, to try to find ways to resolve this, because it's not, the impacts of the schools are significant, but the impacts of town departments are impactful as well. So we understand nobody wanted to be in this position. By the flip side, for an override to support 5% increases on the school budget, it would have to have been at least another $2 to $3 million on an annual basis to support growth at that level. So a 5% recurring increase is just not something that the town can afford based on our financial outlook at all. But we have tools and ways to try to work through some of these challenges. And then just one additional slide that we have not showed previously is just to talk about that operating budget stabilization fund. So this is the outlay, assuming only the withdrawal that we talked about in fiscal 27. As I mentioned, that $700,000 amount is recurring, up to 2.5%. The select board is allowed to increase that by up to 2.5% a year. So the first column on the tax levy assumes that increases at 2.5% a year, starting with the $700,000 improved in last year's tax levy. And then free cash, there's an appropriation of $2 million in free cash. So that balance, plus any interest that's earned so far this year, is $2.7 million. And with that withdrawal in fiscal 27, it keeps it at around that $2.7 million. But this is one of the sources we have to work through this year's budget, but keeping in mind that we need to preserve it for future year budgets as well to ensure that we're able to support budgets not and beyond 27 and into 29, 28, 29, and 30. So in terms of next steps, we will do a final revenue forecast update. We're going to await the governor's budget to do so, and then update state aid, update our local receipts. We're going to keep an eye on new growth, because that new growth number last year was closer to 1.5 million. We still have it at 1 million. The benefit there is this is not something we have to forecast, because it's all the work that's happening right now. So it's ongoing work that can inform the new growth projection. The policy discussions could be how to utilize the operating budget stabilization fund further, and how to supplement or put additional money into that out of free cash for future years is another option that's on the table. We had $4.5 million in free cash certified. We've used $60,000 of that for the special election that the town meeting appropriated in October. We're anticipating using anywhere between $1 and $1.2 million for the capital budget, and look at an appropriation to the general stabilization fund to meet our financial policy. But that will leave a balance there to discuss options on how to appropriate, whether that should go into the operating budget stabilization fund, again, for use in future years. We did establish a SPED stabilization fund, a special education stabilization fund at town meeting in the spring. Didn't put any money into it. So again, that's another possibility in order to give the school department flexibility on special education costs. And then lastly, as I mentioned, health insurance is just continuing to track those claims in our experience in fiscal 26 to make sure we stay in line with what our forecast is today. Every 1% increase on a premium is $140,000 of additional cost for the town's budget. So taking that 10% increase to 12%, for example, we're going to need to find $280,000 if that were the case, to be the case. Even though it sounds like a small amount, it translates to real dollars. So that's where things stand presently. we are continuing to work in town hall and think about options that we have to address this while keeping an eye on the long-term sustainability in future fiscal years. We've been meeting regularly with our counterparts at the school department, scheduled to do so again tomorrow, to talk through some options and provide updates to this group, to the school committee, and others. Happy to take questions or just turn it back to the board for discussion.
Okay, questions for Mr. Milano or discussion items?
I'll add to what Nick shared in that we've also asked the schools in future meetings to bring to us exactly the impacts from their side. What does this mean in terms of when they say 26 roles? What are those 26 roles? What growth would look like for them at 3% or at this measure that we're setting to now? So this is not a one-way conversation. So I think in that conversation that's happening tomorrow, as well as future conversations, the idea is about keeping the schools healthy, but also keeping the town healthy as well, and making sure that we can weather any storm that comes.
Other thoughts?
Just that this is a challenging time. I think folks knew that this would be a level service override, but with level service, there was always the chance that there would be risks in the environment. Health insurance is definitely one of them. So we need to work collaboratively and get creative with ways to address this. And it's contemplating future years and future risk as well. So we just have to get to a more sustainable pathway.
I'll just, my 2 cents, as it were. I totally agree with both Member Hegarty and Member Daley. And I sort of want to call back to last year as we were tackling last minute gaps in the school budget. The reason that we're having this discussion in January and not June is because we've really, I think, done a tremendous amount of work. And I say we, but really it's the Select Board Finance Committee, the town administrator, and the school board, the school committee's finance board, to start really tackling these issues now and looking at what growth looks like both this year and going forward. And so I think, I wouldn't want to conflate the issue that we're having today with issues that we've had in the past with the school board when we've run into unexpected expenses at the last minute. Some of the issues that we face are of our own making, and some are beyond our control. And I think it's worth kind of identifying both so that we can understand what we can and what we can't do. The national trends on health insurance are terrible, and they're not sustainable for the country. But we can't really, in Milton, do anything about what health insurance companies are going to be charging. It's kind of beyond our control. What is within our control is how do we source revenue in this town. There's a proverb that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is to plant it today. I have been and continue to be of the firm belief that the financial foundation that this town is on is not sustainable in the long run. We cannot be the town that we aspire to be, with the reliance that we have overly on residential taxes. We've already seen what this reliance looks like. It looks like taxes going up, housing prices going up, people getting pushed out, services not growing at the same rate. We need to have a bigger and broader commercial base in this town. The sooner that we start on that, the quicker we get towards a real financial stability. With Prop 2.5 being a state law, we're not going to be able to get around the growth that we expect to see, that we will continue to see in all of the services. We won't be able to do it. And so I would call on all members of this town, this board included, begin a serious look at developing commercial tax base in Milton as soon as possible. And the longer that we drag our feet on this, the more underwater we're going to be when it finally gets built. We could have done this 20 years ago, but we can't. So let's do it today. Mr. Milano, that's all I have to say. I don't see anybody else with their hand up. So why don't we move on to fiscal year 27 capital budget? I guess we kind of tackled that already.
Richard's got his hand up.
Oh, Richard's got his hand up. Sorry. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have a little bit of different perspective. I suppose your statement, I probably first heard that same comments 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. If you look at the numbers Mr. Milano projected, and I just look at the changes that this town has made. First and foremost, 6,000 acres, 5,500 acres of this community, the Blue Hills Reservation, green space. That's not going to change. There are many who came before me, many leaders in this town who were way smarter than I was, who have long since passed, who told me a long time ago we were very lucky in Milton that when they came down the 128 corridor that we didn't get an auto mile like Norwood did, or the social plaza like Braintree does, and you just look at the issues, something that's so commercially developed, twice, 3 times what we are. Look at the issues they're having, they're going through right now in their own commercial space. So that, and to me, that green, that reservation is one of the jewels, just as the Ponce River and so many other things are of this town. And while we do get payment, and I believe, Mr. Milano, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we get one of the largest pilot payments in the Commonwealth for our DCR property. Second thing is, we have developed, and I've continued to develop quite a bit here in Milton from things that Mr. Milano, and I'm going to be able to lengthy here, talking about 131 Elliott, the Ice House, North Woods, Carvery Farms, the 88 Wharf, now the Falcone project, 440 Granite Avenue, 752 Brush Hill Boulevard, the project that's pending on Canton Ave, 711 Randolph Ave. That's a lot of construction. Fourth, restaurants, which 20 years ago, not even 15 years ago, was the first liquor license for Steel and Rye, was issued when I was chief. Steel and Rye, Marjorie, Inshora, Mr. Chan's, Navarro, Abbey Park, generate significant dollars that we never, ever had. 15 years ago, this was a town that had Newcomb Farms, Walson Golf Club, and the Legion Post. We didn't have any of those, and I believe the number, if I'm correct, was almost $400,000 this year just in meals tax. None of that existed. I don't think, one of the things that people, at least in my mind, continually have always said is they live here because they like the residential feel of this community. And that creates part of the struggle. That's part of the challenge. You want to maintain the quality of life of the residential feel of the town while resisting the urban development, such as, and I don't know on this board, and actually I don't think anyone in the room, with the exception of maybe Mr. Driscoll, will remember when a proposal came forward probably 20 years ago to convert our DPW yard on Randolph Ave into a mall. And I don't think I ever saw pushback in my life like I saw on that. So I know, I hear you, but the 3 things that I want to finish with are this. The challenges that Ms. Haggerty started with tonight with the school and the budget, the things that Mr. Daly talked about, and finally the things that you talked about, Mr. Chair, those challenges have existed since Proposition 2.5 was passed in 1980. They will continue. The thing that we need to keep, and future boards need to keep in mind, is there is a tolerance, that a balance that residents have to understand. They're not an ATM machine, and I know my time is nearing an end on this board, but for those who will serve in the future and the newer members who are here, that's something you're going to have to deal with. A new school, a new firehouse. It's hard to maintain the quality of life. The one benefit, is my final point, that is so critical, is that in 360 years the quality of life has really barely changed in this town, particularly in the overall look and feel of it, the way people enjoy it here, the things that they hold near and dear, the things that schools, the streets, parks that they enjoy. And I just think we have to be very, very careful. The ability to really develop commercially anything of real significance is never going to happen. And that's going to be a battle. To Ms. Haggerty's point of the struggle between a $9.5 million override last year, I think we can all agree that the next time this town has an override, and I pray that it's at least 5 years away, it's going to be well north of $10 million. So that's something that you have to keep in your mind as a member of this board each and every day going forward, because as I said, Mr. Chair, much of what you just said tonight, I heard for the first time in 1985. And it was Joe McGettrick who was the chair at that time. So thank you. I know that was long and drawn out, and I'll undo that. Thank you.
Can I add something to what
Of course, Mr.
Member
Bailey.
Wells said? Person who is newer on this board, and my first time going through this budget process on this board, I would like the residents to know this is probably an annual process, right? We are working on long-term projections, 3 years, 5 years. I don't know if we're going to get to 10, but that is the budgeted versus the actual situation on the ground, and that is always pending to change or subject to change. So this is just a process that I think has gone on with the board and the school committee in previous years, where they have asks, other departments have asks, and we come to them and we have asked around what the town needs and what the school needs, and then we come to a consensus. So I don't want folks who feel that after the override that everything should have been set it and forget it, because this is what we will do always. We will always interrogate the budget. We will always interrogate our finances, what's expected, what's coming through. I agree with you, Mr. Chair, in that we do need more commercial, but I do think that's a long-term plan, and that we're also working on right now an instant issue that we want a current solution to, and that the planning board, the planning MPIC, and all those committees are working on finding us commercial. I will say that the town, whether by just providence or the hard work of Nick, Amy, and Joanna about changing our income, you can see that our revenue has increased in the past few years at a pretty substantial rate. But it doesn't mean that as quick as we make it, that is as quick as we should spend it. So it is a big picture in terms of keeping reserves and the town able to operate in, again, any storms that may come. Also having the long-term picture around how do we consistently increase our revenues so that we're not worried that those revenues will fall back or that we may have large leaps in expenditures. And also this issue of us every year, we will have these discussions. And I think this is what the community asked for in transparency and the boards working together. It may look a little scary as we're going through this, but this is the process. And we are at the table in good faith, working with the school committee to find the best way forward.
Thank you. That's well said. Any final thoughts on this one? Okay, let's go move along. Mr. Milano?
On the capital budget, our meeting is scheduled for Thursday morning, so I have nothing further unless Mr. Wells wanted to add any additional. But
He's shaking his head no, so I will say.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
East Milton Fire Station RFP, item number 8.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had included this in the packet just as just another prompt. We had looked at it maybe 6 weeks ago at this point. We had approved the appraisal services, so that work is underway. Just as a reminder in terms of any feedback on that RFP that members may have as we pull that together, and then we would want to release that publicly for public feedback as well. So it just really just as a kind of check-in agenda item. And then lastly, again, thinking about town meeting and sequencing, any plan to long-term lease that facility or that land and or to dispose of that land will require town meeting approval. I would say spring is probably premature and unnecessary. The fall town meeting, as that building is going to be complete fall to early winter, probably tracks a little bit better sequentially. So again, in that we can have a longer conversation about, but you have really two options. Do you want to request town meeting's authorization to let this board enter into a lease or to sell the land, or do you want to complete the RFP process and go to town meeting with, an executed purchase and sale or an executed intent to lease wrapped up, and have the town meeting approve the exact project that will move forward? Again, so that's, in terms of timing, helpful. So if the board wanted to just request the authorization, we could put a warrant article for the annual town meeting and request that authorization of the town meeting. The board was more inclined to say we would rather bring, a more or less complete deal to town meeting, then the October one would probably make more sense there. So just another thought in terms of next steps on this project. To summarize, any feedback you have on the RFP, the appraisal is underway. Once we have that back, we'll share that. And then thirdly is just in terms of how the board wants to think about that town meeting warrant article.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. Mr. Wells, I see your hands up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to try to follow practice from the most recent one, the land purchase at St. Agatha's, and then the sale of the Discovery School. Those are the two most recent that we dealt with. I believe, Mr. Milano, didn't the board, we put out the RFP, we developed, and then we went to town meeting and asked them what we wanted to sell it for, or what the final disposition was, which would be option 2 versus, I believe, your first option. Am I right on that, or am I wrong?
For Discovery, that's correct. I don't recall in terms of the St. Agatha's purchase. I wasn't here. I believe it was a discrete approval for the exact purchase price and the exact piece of land.
Yeah, because there wasn't any other, there was no other one.
Correct.
Although we may have, I can't remember if I could be wrong. I don't want to say, because for some reason I thought the RFP could have been another bid, but there wasn't. It was, the fire station was the main intentions we wanted to build. So I don't think there was. So given that, I think it probably prudent was to just follow the same route. The board to follow the same route we'll follow the last two.
In that case, that would mean, nothing for the annual town meeting, finish the RFP, get it out on the street in the next couple of months, and then line everything up to come to town meeting in October with, a kind of fleshed out, agreed upon parameters of a deal, of whatever that might take the shape.
Thoughts from other members?
I'm gonna need a little more time to go through the RFP as Nick sent it to us, but
Yeah.
I think I would be inclined to shoot for fall town meeting.
The
in terms of
timeline-
finish the RFP
yeah.
and then put it out there.
That timeline sounds about right to me, but the details of what's in the RFP are another question. Gotta take some time.
Okay, it sounds like we have pretty clear instructions then.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Moving along to the road diet pilot, Route 28, Randolph Ave. Are there any updates? I know we got a nice letter from our neighbors over there that said that Ms. Haggerty is going to be recusing herself for this. That the road diet or the new no left turn signs seem to have cut down on traffic a bit. Any other updates that we've heard from MassDOT or anyone else?
No, just as a reminder for members of the public, there is no left turn from the 4 streets off of Reedsdale onto Highland from 4 to 6 p.m. each evening. That was put up prior to the Christmas holiday, and really, as the world returned to work on Monday the 5th, truly went into effect. Appreciate Milton Police has been out there. No other updates at this point. And MassDOT reached out today just to check in, and so we'll stay in touch, remain in touch, and as we work towards a conversation in the coming months about what to do long term. So that's in terms of updates. That's all I get.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Your hands up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with Mr. Milano. I got a note today of another resident who loves it. I think the area that we will, when the pilot period comes to an end and we get into discussions with MassDOT as to any tweaks or changes to it, I think the area that's probably going to have to be addressed somehow is the area between Reed Street and the 7-Eleven at the intersection of Reedsdale Road. I think somehow we'll have to take a look at, because particularly with the changes we made, and I'm sure some of you saw the emails from some of the rest, with the no left turn changes we made at the top of the streets at Highland, it's made it really difficult in some of the residents that live between Reed Street and Pleasant Street and Reedsdale Road. So we'll have to look at that. I think that's one area that's going to may wind up being tweaked when we get to the end of this. It seems to be a recurring issue that continues to rise. I've not heard anything in the negative at all from Allen Ave going south towards the Randolph line, other than those who really appreciate it and support it feel it's most safe.
Mr. Driscoll.
I live it, and I think it's unbelievably changed for the better. I don't hear a lot of racing at night, and honestly, they obey the speed 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I think it's a success. And everybody feels safe, and I would like them to look at the Reed Street to Randolph Ave area. You know, I'm not going to argue with that, but I think it's 100% a success. Other than a couple of things, like Richard said, got to be tweaked. Like I said, I don't hear any racing at night. And when I'm out salting at night, everybody seems to be going the speed limit. They're not speeding, and it's very, it's a success. Success, I'm telling you.
Great.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Mr. Daly, anything from you?
No, I agree on the Reed Street. I think Mr. Milano and I were talking about that a little bit a few months ago. Things that we may ask MassDOT of, and maybe some other possibilities on change in traffic. Now that's really a different kind of corridor, but I think that's a place where we wanted to be in making these tweaks, and that's the point of the pilot. And I think the residents coming in and sharing with us and us being able to get something done is also a great success and a great testament to the process. So still more to come. But.
Thank you. So, Mr. Milano, it seems like, and I would agree with my colleagues, that there's a consensus on that stretch between Reed Pleasant and needs to be tweaked. Mm-hmm. How do we go about that with MassDOT?
I said it to MassDOT today that seemed like the stretch that we needed to discuss, and that I expected that the town or this board would want to get into more of a back and forth around that. So I think they're as they've demonstrated throughout this process, open to suggestion and will evaluate. So I think I'll follow up with the MassDOT team just to kind of recapture this conversation with them and solicit their take on how we should bring any additional feedback that we have going forward, other than just my bringing it to them like I will now. So.
Great, that would be helpful. Any final comments on this? Okay. Ms. Haggerty, we're wrapping up and moving on. We have item 10, Policy Committee Report, Select Board Code of Conduct, first reading. Mr. Milano, do you want to introduce this?
Sure. So we had a policy committee meeting with Mr. Driscoll and Mr. Zoll. We had talked through the draft code of conduct that I had previously put together and circulated. And the two members of the policy committee went through it, marked it up to try to trim it down. As I had stated in the select board and again at the policy committee meeting, I just pulled together kind of a wide berth and a wide kind of code of conduct, expecting would be easier to trim. So those markups that you've seen reflect that conversation, and I'll leave it to there in terms of if you want to summarize it any differently or any further.
Well, I'd maybe turn to Mr. Driscoll if you have any initial thoughts from our meeting.
No, you ran a great meeting, and it went smoothly.
Thank you. I think there was a general consensus that having a code of conduct in place was a good idea. I think particularly, in helping us to navigate some of the stickier situations that we might have as a board, both individually and collectively, and an emphasis on really, collegiality and trying to resolve differences in ways that were constructive. So and I think everyone got a copy of this. So if there are questions or thoughts or comments about the language, I think we'd be happy to walk you through why we thought picking one thing out or putting another thing in.
Yeah, something quickly I have a question on, but I do want to thank. Sorry about that. I have a quick question, quick thought, but I want to begin by thanking Chairman Zoll and Member Driscoll for your effort on this. I think it's really important that we have a professional code, because the residents of the town elected us to be professionals and to get a job done. And I think this sets a lot of really good guardrails to keep us focused on the job in front of us, a little bit less on the politics, a little bit less on the personalities. So I think this is a really good start. When I was skimming through the draft that we have, I was wondering sort of the time horizon or the time band under which we're thinking this applies. Is it applying during the select board meetings or during official events, or is it when we're conducting any type of board activity?
It's a good question. I think in some cases that's spelled out a little
Okay.
bit. So, I think particularly in item 2 or the sort of section 2, where it's, acting in a civil and professional manner at all board meetings.
Mhm.
So if you're at a meeting of your local bowling club, you can act however you like.
Mhm.
Treating with respect the rights of all members of the board. And then at the end, refrain from personal comments about fellow select board members in public speech, writing, or electronic communications, including social media. I think that sort of then goes beyond a little bit in terms of our conduct here, and sort of applies to more broadly around town. And then I think in terms of the conduct in relation to town staff and administration, I would read that as any conversation in terms that you're having with a town employee, because I think that's, and I would ask maybe Mr.
About
Driscoll
the business of the town.
yeah, if you're talking with a because typically speaking, we only really interact with Nick, occasionally Lynn, at these meetings. But in our day-to-day work as select board members, we often run into other officials at DPW or MPD or at town hall, and I would imagine that we would want to incorporate that there as well. But Mr. Driscoll, I don't know if you have thoughts as well.
Just treat everybody the way you want to be treated and respect everybody. And, get along.
I was thinking of this as governing your whatever time you're on the board.
Yeah.
The minute you join, like, this is the governance of your behavior.
Mhm.
So no matter where you are still a select board member. It doesn't just turn off when you walk out the door.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I think I think that's an important. I think it's an important distinction, because sometimes, everyone around this table has been great about it. I'll just say honestly that sometimes when the cameras are off and we're back out in civilization, sometimes people aren't great to each other. And again, I think that we've all done a lot of good work to curb some of that. But I think, that it's just important to note that that this is always important when we're dealing with each other.
I think that's well said. And I think, to Mr. Driscoll's point, I think we all strive to be better people. I don't think there's an expectation that any of us are going to be saints, but that we aspire to be, at least better individuals than we might normally try to comport ourselves as. But I think Mr. Daly and your point very well that this is yes in meetings, but also outside of meetings. I think there's a bit to be expected of us.
And we're not always going to agree on everything, but we can always get along.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
You know,
I think that's exactly right. So, Mr. Milano, from your perspective, we could do a first reading of this into the record.
Yes, under the policy for adopting new policies, we
Gotta have a
always do a
policy,
first
policy,
reading,
policy, policy.
and then it's after the second reading at the next meeting where it could be adopted. So if there are any edits between now and the January 27th meeting, we can bring those back to the board. If any member has any requests for changes or additions, we can take those and bring those back to the board on the 27th. That could be adopted on the 27th.
Okay, and so for this to be considered an official first reading, do we need a motion on
Yeah, a motion to move it to a second reading.
that? Okay.
All right, I move a motion to move the Select Board Code of Conduct to a second reading at the next Select Board meeting.
second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Wells, we'll begin with you.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you again, Mr. Milano, for your work on giving us something to work with here. That was really helpful. Moving on, we have 2026 liquor license renewal for 10 Bassett Street LLC, DBA Marbella.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know Attorney Ned Corcoran is here as well. I don't know that the board, I'll promote him in case the board has any questions for him, but I'll just address really the next three together. Item 11 is to renew the license that was granted for calendar year 2026 because it was technically granted in calendar year 2025, although we know that the business has not yet opened. And then the second is a change of DBA as they intend to change the name. And we need to do so formally to reflect it both on the license and then submit that back up to ABCC for their sign off. So really just procedural things. Nothing is really changing inherently in the license. So that's the summary, unless Attorney Corcoran, there's anything I skipped over on those two items.
I have, thank you, Nick and members of the board. For the record, Ned Corcoran on behalf of the applicant, 10 Bassett LLC. I've also got Vance Welch on the line if there were questions that the board wanted to entertain with him. But I think Mr. Milano said it succinctly. We were just before the board in, I think, November to approve the liquor license under the name of Marbella. And they're coming up with a slight change in the approach to how they want to go forward. So they've changed the name. They're changing the name now as well. And so to Julianne's Kitchen and Bar. So if I can answer, I'm not sure I can answer any additional questions beyond that. But as I said, if you have one, Vance Welch is available to speak. Otherwise, don't want to waste much of the board's time this evening.
Thank you, sir. I do see, Mr. Wells, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Cochran. I just want to, two things. To our, not part of Mr. Cochran and Mr. Welch's, but to our previous discussion about commercial, this is one of the opportunities you have where you get to do something positive for the community and increase commercial revenue. This is one more step where you're going to have annual meals taxes. And I don't know, I don't have the breakdown for your other two restaurants, but I'm sure that they're at the top of the meals. They're right there. If not at the top, they're near the top. And I know this has been a long project and you've worked really hard on this, Mr. Milano. I have talked about this, that we know how anxious you are to get this done. And I know this one little step tonight, I'm happy to make this motion to make this change. And in spirit of time, and I'm not sure, Ned, whether Vance wants to tell the story as to how, okay, so as to why.
We see no need to spend any additional time.
Okay.
We
All right.
straightforward and appreciate the support.
So I'm all good. I'm ready to vote, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wells. I think for the sake of clarity, we might have someone read the motions from the letter just so we get them all right. Does anybody want to feel like reading,
Sure,
Mr.
let me
Daly?
see what I can do. Time to read. All right. Okay, move to approve the 2026 liquor license renewal for 10 Bassett Street LLC, DBA Marbella.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Mr. Wells, we'll begin with you.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And then moving on to
All right.
item 12.
I move to approve the change to the DBA for 10 Bassett Street LLC to Julianne's Kitchen and Bar, liquor license number 09332-RS-0720.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Driscoll. Any further discussion? All in favor? Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And then we have one more.
And
Mr.
finally, move to approve the common victualler license for 10 Bassett Street LLC, DBA Julianne's Kitchen and Bar upon final approval from the Board of Health and Inspectional Services.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Haggerty. Any further discussion? Begin
Mr.
with you,
Chair.
Mr. Wells.
Only a comment to Mr. Milano to please continue to have our town agencies involved in this to do everything they can to expedite this. We don't want this restaurant opening on the 4th of July. We'd like to see it opened as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Is that a yes then from you?
That is a yes.
Okay. Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
With a caveat.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. I believe that concludes our business with you, Mr. Corcoran. Thank you very much, and we look forward to enjoying some meals at the Julianne's Kitchen.
Terrific. Thank you, and
Thanks,
Happy
man.
New Year all.
Happy New Year. Okay, moving along. Item, where are we? 14, I believe. Application to use the town green in Baron Hugo gazebo on Saturday, June 6th. Wow, June 2026 from 11:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the Milton Pride celebration.
I'll make that the formal motion, Mr. Chair. Those exact words.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
All right. I guess we don't need any more background on this. Everybody knows what the Pride Parade is and where it will be. So we've got a motion made and seconded. Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Also on 15, application to use Manning Park in June for a Pride Month flag and decorative light display.
I'll make a motion to approve that as written, as stated by the chair.
Second.
I'm reading off the regular. I don't have the motions. I'm reading
That's
off the regular.
totally fine. Mr. Wells, I think we'll accept that, and Mr. Driscoll seconded it. So if there's no further discussion, Mr. Wells, we'll turn to you.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We do now have some one-day liquor licenses to consider. Would anyone like to make a motion or series of motions?
Move,
Go ahead.
move to approve the application. No, what's 16, right?
Yep,
Yes.
that's one down, yep.
Discussion approval, one-day liquor licenses. Read them all.
So yeah, you can just say move to approve the one-day liquor licenses for the following and then read the following.
The next paragraph down, too.
What, proposed motion?
Yes.
Yeah,
There you go.
historical New England Uses Estate located at 1424 Canton Ave, January 25th, 2026, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Winter Sounds concert, February 15th, 2025, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Valentine afternoon tea, February 22, 2026, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Winter Sounds concert, March 15th, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Winter Sounds concert. And B, Catholic parishes of Blue Hills, St. Pius, and 101 Walcott Road. Designer Purse Bingo, January 24th, 2026, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wells.
Can we assume that those 2025 dates should be 2026?
Yes, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Didn't get it by you.
Thank you. We're almost there. Some of them were 26. Okay, motion's made and seconded. Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Now we have discussion approval, no place for hate proclamation to be read Monday, January 19th, 2026, in honor of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I do have the proclamation here. If we want to read it now, we can read it now. We can also defer reading of it to the event itself and just vote to approve the.
We usually defer to the event, Mr. Chair, and read it at the event, but I'll make a motion if you'd like to approve the No Place for Hate proclamation for Monday, January 2026 in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. I think we can defer the reading to the event, which my understanding is it will be at the Concord Baptist Church. Do we have more information about that, Mr. Milano, or anybody else know?
I don't at the moment. I will distribute to the board as soon as I get
Okay.
concrete details.
I have the location. I don't have the actual time, so that would
The
be
micro event. It's a micro event.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Okay, so we've got motion made and seconded. Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Ms. Hegarty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Item 18, donations to the Milton Coalition, Mike's 5K to Crush Substance Abuse, Inc., and Anthony and Christine Picello. Mr. Milano, do you have anything for us on this?
Just again, the annual contribution from Mike's 5K is much appreciated by the coalition and significant contribution to their efforts. And the Chicallo family annually gives a contribution, so we appreciate their assistance to the coalition.
Yes, thank you to both of those, but the Mike's 5K and to the Chicallos. We appreciate that support. Item 19 is discussion and approval of the meeting
You do
minutes.
need a formal vote to accept the gifts,
Oh,
however. Sorry.
all right.
So I'd like to move to approve the donations to the Milton Coalition from Mike's 5K to Crush Substance Abuse, Inc., and Anthony and Christine Picello.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Ms. Hegarty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Okay, now, meeting approval, meeting minutes, December 9th, 2025 and December 16th, 2025. Can I have a motion? I think everyone was present for both of those meetings.
I believe
Lynn
that's the
says
case.
yes.
Yes.
So if Lynn says yes, the answer is yes. I'll take a motion on this one.
All right, move to approve the meeting minutes dated December 9th, 2025 and December 16th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Wells?
I was letting someone else have a turn because I
Very
usually
generous.
have to second
right.
the motion on the meeting minutes.
Very generous. Mr. Wells is a yes?
Listen, I'm aware of what time it's Haggerty, you're in luck. It's 8:35. Yes.
I'm still up for
That's what
another
Mr. Driscoll-
hour.
Yes.
Talking about.
Yes.
Ms. Hegarty?
Yep.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And I would just like to point out for Ms. Hegarty's benefit that having recently been in China, currently it's 9:30 in the morning for me, and I've just pulled an all-nighter.
Yeah.
So my eyes are still open. I may have taken a short nap this afternoon, but my eyes are open now. I believe then we are to the town administrator's report, Mr. Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're pleased to have Darwin Ceballos start yesterday as the new town engineer after a lengthy absence of anybody in that position since Marina took over as DPW director about 11 months ago, or 13 months ago, rather. That office has been working with a little shorthanded. For the last 13 months, Sky Berube, who is our civil engineer, has been doing yeoman's work and doing his work as well as work as a town engineer. Marina's has worn two hats at most times. So we appreciate their work, but are excited to have Darwin on board. And he comes from many years of experience in the private sector at several different engineering firms and has worked on Milton projects in the past. So familiar with the town, lives nearby. So we're excited to have him on board. And I spoke with Marina about having him in to meet with the board as well as at the next opportunity that she can. So we'll make sure to do that. We received notices today about the 936 Brush Hill Road 40B project that the Affordable Housing Lottery has been posted. And I'm blanking on the dates. I believe there will be an open house in middle of February, and then the applications will be shortly thereafter. We'll post a notice on the town website and do as a reminder as the application deadline approaches. That's 5 affordable units at 80% of AMI. The rental units is 1 3-bedroom, a couple 2-bedrooms, and 1 bedrooms available through the lottery. So that project should be potentially occupied in the next 5 to 6 months. They will be complete and started the occupancies. This is over near Curry College. We have a number of board and committee openings. We've been talking about the master plan committee a few times. While we have a few applicants, we do need 7 positions for that committee. We need 1 member of this board to serve on it, 1 member of the planning board to serve on it, and then there are 7 at-large resident members. We have 2 applications in, so if anybody's interested in the master plan committee to pick up the work of the master plan implementation committee, please submit your application.
Mr. Milton, just a quick question. Did we not vote to put you on? Because you were MPIC before.
Yeah, I think we're assuming that I'm going to continue on the board, but we still
have to
need
vote on
to
it.
continue to encourage members of the public to submit their applications.
Yes, please do that. Oh, and Mr. Wells, you have your hand up.
No, I'm just waiting until he's done. That's all, just before we're done, Mr. Chair. I'll wait till Mr. Lalo's done.
Okay.
Thank you. The recreation master plan is posted a survey. So the Board of Park Commissioners has community preservation committee funding, as well as funding from various sports leagues to complete a recreational facilities master plan. They've posted a short survey through SurveyMonkey that's available on the town website, town and Parks Department social media. If folks could take a few minutes to fill that out. They're really using this master plan as and a chance to solicit input on how to invest in and utilize town's recreational assets, our ball fields moving forward. So the wider and broader feedback we can get, the better suited that and the better informed that plan will be. Christmas tree pickup is ongoing this week. So people are starting to see trees out. The hauler is working through it. We'll stay on them. If you're in an area that didn't get picked up, you can reach out to the DPW and you can report waste issues, whether it's trash, recycling, Christmas tree, yard waste, to waste.issues@miltonma.gov, and that will be, it's an email list that goes to a number of folks that down at DPW, and we'll get that information off to the hauler. The department also sent out a notification regarding lead pipe services and service lines generally. So we're required now annually to send out a notice regarding service lines. If we don't know the material that your service line is made of, so the service line connects your house service to the water main in the street. It's privately owned, and so we have to send out a notification if it's lead, if it's galvanized steel, or if we don't know the condition of it. It's not the most it's mandated language from the Department of Environmental Protection, so it can be a confusing flyer. We apologize for that. Really what we're trying to do is, if you don't know what material your lead service line is, we have staff who will come in and check it, because we're trying to update our records. So if any members of the public get a notification that says unknown, we would love to get in your house to take a look at that service line, and there's information to follow up and schedule that.
I had a young gentleman come today because when we did our new water line 24 years ago, the contractor didn't update the book. We're on copper, and he came in to look, and we're on copper.
Great.
It was fine, and it was very easy, and the guy was very nice.
Good. Thank you. So thank you for doing that. So
I'm
quick and easy.
witnessing that too.
Follow Mr. Driscoll's example, everyone.
So that's one less that we have to worry about on our list, because we, under the lead and copper rule for water services, we have to start replacing them at 10% a clip. So the more information we have about the condition of them, the easier it makes our lift going forward. We had a local emergency planning committee meeting on Thursday of last week. Sergeant Chris Ernst has taken over management of the local emergency planning committee. I had asked the fire chief and Sergeant Ernst to consider doing a tabletop exercise of one of the 40P projects under construction having a fire. As we've seen, that happens, to an under construction site. There was just that big fire in Amherst, Mass. So huge thanks to the department, fire department, police department, Officer Lauren Kinsella, Sergeant Ernst, Deputy King, Chief Madden, for pulling together a broad tabletop exercise. We had all the departments represented. We had members of the public attending. We had the auxiliary fire there, representatives from Milton Hospital, from MEMA. So it was a good group just going through what the response might look like if the 40B in East Milton were to go to have a fire while under construction. So it would be quite a response. It would be quite a sticky site to respond to, but I thought everybody handled it well, and it just was a good exercise to go through just to talk about issues that folks could see. I know Mr. Driscoll's there, so thank you for joining us.
I'll tell you, it was very, very impressive, and you really get your eyes open. But I also want to mention auxiliary. They went and did the lighting for Milton Hospital parking lot, Christmas Eve. That group does a lot. That Richard's always complimented them, but they do a lot for the town. But that whole scenario, Nick, was great. And DPW facilities. We have a lot of good people, a lot of good, hardworking people that take care of us every day of the week. And I really appreciated that.
I appreciate that. And like I said, I just put it out there to the chief, and they ran with it. They pulled it together. They did a lot of, I think, even more helpful work in prepping for it, just to kind of to get prepared to do the tabletop. Took a lot of work just to think about what their response would be, and then talk through what the response might look like. So obviously, police and fire coordination is key there, and they're working well together, whether it's prepping for events or responding to events. And then just lastly, it's been a busy start to the season, winter season, for the Department of Public Works and everybody that does snow and ice for us. Constant call-outs with the various salting operations we've had to run just because of low temperatures, not a significant amount of snow, but a lot of response time. We're in a little bit of a lull now, which is nice, but just want to acknowledge their work at the end of December through the holidays. It was a busy time.
Don't jinx it.
So just wanted to note their work. And that was my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. And Mr. Wells, you had something to add?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things. Here's a test question for all of you. In Commonwealth of Massachusetts, what was the longest multiple alarm fire in the state's history?
The longest?
Chelsea fire?
Nope. 88 Wharf. 16 days, multiple alarms when it was the Hood plant built. 16 days at least a 2-alarm fire. That's how long that burned for. You remember, John, how that was a massive, longest running multiple alarm fire in state history. So just one more point I wanted to add. I'm comforted when I hear members of the board talk about the contributions of our employees, because I've said this many times. We're only as good as those who do the work, whether it's the teacher in the classroom, police officer, the firefighter, the volunteer, the person driving that sander or plow, the woman behind the desk at the library, the woman the nurse giving you a food shot, whatever it is, or who's ever helping you in the council on aging. This Friday, I believe Officer Michael Mason is retiring after a 3+ decade career with the Milton Police Department. Michael came to this town. His grandfather was immigrated. He was with his grandfather, Sammy Mason, was an Italian immigrant who immigrated to this country and then wound up in this town through Argentina right after World War II. And his grandfather worked for the DPW over 40 years. And Michael, who grew up in East Milton, came to us by way of he was a summer cop in Yarmouth during his college years and came on the police department back in the early 1990s. And a longtime football coach at Milton Academy, great with kids. He's been a member of the Honor Guard for as long as I can remember. He's been at every Veterans Day, Memorial Day, funeral, everyone I can think of. And I just want to, on behalf of all of us, wish him very well in his future endeavors and thank him for his 3+ decades of service to the citizens of this town. Thank you. That's all I had. Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. I have nothing from the chair's report that Mr. Milano hasn't already covered. I with the exception of, obviously, we're going to be honoring Martin Luther King on Monday, and so we hope to have the information in terms of where that will be held and at what time, so that members of the public can join. It's always a special occasion. But other than that, I have nothing else. Are we going into? Do we have a executive session?
I have a couple updates for you on both.
On both. All right.
We do both.
So let me put my.
Are we good on future meetings and all that?
Oh yeah, future meeting dates.
Future meetings.
we're back on our regular schedule of second and fourth Tuesdays. So that has us be, what was it, the 27th and the 10th? Any conflicts for anybody?
What's school vacation week of the 20th? I mean, week of the 16th, right?
Yeah, it's
Is
that.
school vacation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the before and after that week. I don't think we're on that week of school vacation.
We're not. Yeah.
Yeah, it says here 24th is our lot, 24th and 10th.
Yes.
Correct. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the second meeting in February would be the the 24th. So we would miss school vacation. Okay, I am missing my.
Can we discuss the locations? I like that the old
Oh,
firehouse.
we could think about doing it at the new fire station building.
Yes,
I've
and the
heard
school
it's-
committee's been meeting in there.
Do people want to try a different space out?
It's,
I'm fine with it.
I prefer these chairs. I'm
We
willing.
can,
I'll bring one of these chairs.
I know that they are tough.
We could get some padded chairs.
That's
in
true.
there.
That's true. When we have
Yeah.
the budget meetings, Winston's always complaining about his back.
I'm older than I look.
yeah.
So let's try it for the next January meeting in the
Okay.
new fire station, and then
Get
members can
Winston
bring
a pillow.
pillows or
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, anything else that they need to. So I am going to move to enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, Milton Clerical Unit of the Southeastern Public Employees Association, Milton Professional Management Association, Milton Public Employee Association, Milton Firefighters Local 1116, Milton Police Association, Milton Superior Officers, Milton Library Association. Based on my belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the select board will not return to open session. Can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Driscoll. This is a roll call vote always. Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. And then so Nick, we're adjourning and then opening Governor Stoughton. and
Correct.
then- okay, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Driscoll, but don't take your microphone off yet. We're not done. All in favor, Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. I would like to now call to order a meeting of the trustees of the Governor Stoughton Trust and subsequently move to enter into executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, town farm, based on my belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the Governor Stoughton trustees. The trustees will not return to open session.
Second.
Second.
Seconded. Well, we've lost Mr. Wells, so let's start with Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Yes.
And myself, yes. And I will take a motion to adjourn for Governor Stoughton Trust.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Seconded. And we can just do this all collectively since Mr. Wells is no longer online. Aye.
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 All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We are adjourned.